There's a particular kind of frustration that doesn't get talked about much. It's not the feeling of doing nothing. It's the feeling of doing enough, of showing up, of trying and putting in effort into the things that you've decided to work on, whether that's actual work that you're getting paid for, work that you aren't getting paid for, or the work that you do on yourself, which honestly pays back the best returns you'll ever see. Whatever it is, you're doing it and still walking around with the sense that it isn't landing. That you should have seen results by now. That whatever you're doing should feel more meaningful by now, and it just doesn't. Today we're going to talk about what to do when you're doing enough, but it still doesn't feel like it. What can we do from there? In this episode, we'll explore the moment when you're putting in effort, you're taking responsibility, and you're not avoiding the work, but that satisfaction, that internal reward never arrives. We'll answer questions like, why that gap feels so uncomfortable, why so many people misinterpret that space as failure, and how do you and I keep showing up without turning against ourselves or forcing change too early. This is not an episode about pushing harder, and it's not an episode about giving up. It's about staying steady when that feeling of meaning lags behind effort. This doing enough, but it doesn't feel like it, isn't just uncomfortable. It can lead to us overcomplicating things unnecessarily, overwhelming ourselves, and eventually giving up. Because of that, this space can be dangerous. Not just because it's wrong, but because it works quietly. It starts with people questioning themselves, adding pressure unnecessarily, abandoning things that were actually working, or numbing the discomfort with distraction, comparison, or self-criticism. Often, the problem isn't that you're off track. It's that you're in a phase where progress hasn't caught up with effort yet. But even if you are off track, that imperfection is one of the most potent forms of education you'll get. If we learn to get curious instead of spiraling when we're honest about what's at stake, if we weren't afraid to fail, we would try enough things, enough times to get what we actually wanted. But I'm veering into another discussion. Let's get back on track. Without a way to understand that phase where progress hasn't caught up with effort, people tend to assume something is wrong with them or with what they're doing. And the problem is that it's not always the case. So, what is the problem? What's the explanation behind why effort doesn't always feel rewarding at the beginning? Well, we all grow up with the implicit belief that if I try hard enough, it should feel good. But many meaningful processes don't offer immediate emotional feedback. Learning, stabilizing, repairing, rebuilding, these often feel flat before they feel fulfilling. And our nervous systems want relief or reward. But starting on the path to the long-term things that you want doesn't give you either right away. But it does come with time and continued effort. When you start working out or writing or studying or whatever it is, in the beginning, it's difficult. The weights are heavy, it's tough to come up with thoughts or getting yourself to focus. But that's kind of the point, right? Eventually, you'll do it enough and you'll get better at it, but more importantly, it becomes a part of who you are. It becomes identity-based. And every time you do that activity, it reinforces the identity. That's when it starts feeling good. When the act of working out is connected to who you are. You become somebody who works out, who prioritizes their health, who goes to the gym. By doing the exercise, you are reinforcing the way you see yourself. And that's when it starts feeling good. But you don't feel that in the beginning. So that mismatch creates tension. There's another thing that I want to speak about in this. It's a reframing that I think is very important. It's the difference between not enough and not yet. When effort doesn't feel good, the mind often jumps to, I should be doing more. It jumps to, other people seem further along, or maybe this isn't working. But sometimes the more accurate statement is, I'm getting there. I'm learning, or I'm getting better, and my effort is compounding. There's a lag between action and internal validation. That lag is uncomfortable, but it's not meaningless. Another important thing that I need to speak about is the pressure that we put on ourselves, and this pressure that sneaks in disguised as motivation. This is when people start adding extra rules or tightening standards to a level that is not practical, or demanding emotional certainty from yourself, which is just impossible. This pressure shows up pretending to help, pretending that if you did more, you'd feel better. But that pressure usually just increases the noise. I feel like that's when our fears and insecurities start shouting at us. And I know what that feels like. I know the feeling of wanting to stop, of wanting to slow down, or not put in as much effort because it doesn't feel that good, or I'm not seeing the results that I want to see. Whether that's studying, training, working, showing up in whatever way, I still felt strangely unsatisfied. Not that I was burnt out or disengaged, just unconvinced. Now in hindsight, I can see that those moments weren't failures. They were just a point where I had to slow down and make sure that this is what I really wanted to do, because in some way I was preparing to get to a new level. And before I was ready to commit to this new level, I believe that it was a place for me to really consider whether this is what I wanted. And I'm grateful for those moments now in retrospect. But even if I'm lucky enough to look back on those moments with some fondness and gratitude, it still can be difficult to navigate. But thankfully, I found something that works for me, and hopefully it works for you. 4 pretty simple steps, but simple doesn't always mean easy. This is a practical orientation that I think anybody can use. So, step 1 is name the phase honestly. Instead of this is not working, try I'm in a phase where effort hasn't turned into meaning that I can feel just yet. Naming it reduces panic, but importantly in this step, once you name it, find the feeling underneath it. There's always something: regret, shame, fear, the fear of what others might think, this imaginary them that so many of us have in our heads, or the fear of failure, or even deeper, the belief that you don't deserve the things that you want. It's important to acknowledge these feelings and fears so that we can start collecting proof that they aren't true. Step 2 is a question that you need to ask yourself. Ask, what do I feel the urge or the impulse to do? Whether it's the impulse to quit, to procrastinate, slow down, or change direction, or maybe it's a different impulse. Maybe it's the impulse to smoke a cigarette, or have a drink, or watch something that you don't really want to. The point of the step is to stop you from rushing to the short-term fixes that don't solve anything, only really leading to regret and sometimes shame. This step is to help you connect the feeling to the urge so that you can recognize it when it comes up and understand that this is not some absolute truth that you're being called to. It's just an unconscious short-term solution that has in itself become its own problem. Step 3 is to resist the urge. When the effort doesn't feel rewarding, the instinct is to push. Sometimes the most stabilizing move is to hold steady, not to escalate. Resisting the urge is its own step because recognizing the urge is one thing, but resisting is more difficult. Fortunately, you don't have to will yourself the whole way. I found that making it just a bit more inconvenient or uncomfortable to give in to your urge is really helpful. If you have an urge to stop or change something, try telling someone about what you're doing or your process. Get someone who will do it with you, like an accountability partner. Change your environment to make it more difficult to give in to the impulse. There are other things that you can do, but that's what's been working for me recently. For this step, it's important to remember consistency often matters more than intensity. What you do every day matters more than how hard you work just on one particular day in isolation. Step 4 is to focus on showing up and not feeling good about it. Sometimes the win is getting to continue even if there's no internal applause. Not forever, but just for now. With that reframe, you start enjoying this flatness that you feel before whatever you do becomes a part of your identity. With those 4 steps, I'm confident that anybody who tries them and adapts them to their unique circumstances, it will work for them. But like I said, they're simple but not always easy, because change is hard. Something that you can do to get yourself started are small little nudges in the right direction. And those nudges, for me, come in the form of experiments. So I'm going to give you 3 experiments. I'm going to invite you to take part in 3 experiments that I have prepared for you. Experiment number 1 is to stay the course for 1 more week. Pick one thing that you're doing enough of. Don't try to optimize or make it better. Don't add to it. Just keep showing up and observe yourself. Almost like you're watching yourself from outside your body. I know it's strange, but I heard James Clear describe it as being outside and above it. And I get it. It's not some out-of-body experience. It's just helped me put things into perspective. Experiment 2 is to separate effort from evaluation. Don't judge yourself. For the first few days, do the thing and don't assess how meaningful it feels. Let your action exist without immediate judgment. 3 is a short one, but it's probably the most important one. It's an honest check-in. Ask yourself, if I stopped this, would I feel relief or regret? That answer often says more than motivation does. It answers the question of, am I doing this for me? If I stop this, would I feel relief or regret? While you're reflecting on what we've spoken about today throughout your day or your week, I've prepared some prompts that you can use in your reflection, or you could use to journal. Where am I doing enough but expecting too much emotional payoff? 2. What if this phase isn't a signal to change, but a signal to wait? 3. Am I mistaking quiet progress for no progress? And 4. What would staying steady look like right now? Not every phase of effort feels meaningful. Some phases are about laying the groundwork that you don't get to stand on yet. I think of it like a tiny, very fragile seed, growing into a fragile seedling, and then a small plant, and a slightly stronger sapling, and a stronger, smaller tree, and under the right conditions, sunlight, water, the temperature, the gases in the air, that small, fragile seed will grow and grow into a massive, deeply rooted, immovable tree. If you start showing up, acting in alignment, and staying honest, it's okay if it doesn't feel like much right now. You're just watering the seedling. You're getting the conditions right for growth. Sometimes the most important thing that you can do is keep going without needing the feeling to justify it. Doing enough doesn't always feel like enough, but that doesn't mean it isn't. Hey, I'm Shravan, and you're listening to 7 Steps to Smile. I'm studying right now, and I'm hoping to qualify as an actuary. All this to say that I don't have a degree, nor am I a life coach or some personal development mentor. I am learning lessons from the answers that I find to really interesting questions that pop into my head from time to time. These episodes are those lessons filtered through me. So I hope you enjoy and take something from this. And hopefully we can learn how to keep showing up together.